I'm getting licked.
What
I'm getting licked
fuck?
over here.
I'm getting licked. Ah!
Reminds me of Bubbles. Something licked me. Something licked me on the knee.
All right, hello and welcome to Day One Pass Podcast, episode 512 or 512 if you prefer, or 512. I don't know where do you guys stand on that? What's your how do you read that number?
I'd probably say 512.
It feels like a very round number, like a very square number. That's the opposite of round, but very like a very full number, 512. It feels mathematically solid.
Yeah, it does, eh? Although I think most even numbers feel that way.
Not all of them. Not all
No?
of them, 36, that feels like a circle to me.
That does feel like a circle.
I
That's
guess it's because
360.
360, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Fuck.
We solved
Alright,
it.
anyway.
We solved it. Yeah.
We immediately.
Yeah.
Oh, what a mystery. Nope, there it is.
Yeah.
There's the answer.
All right, that's Tim Spence, the geometry expert.
Yeah, that's me, the math guy. That's what they call me. Yep.
Matt Lawrence is here, the Italian expert.
That's much closer to the truth than me being the math guy. He's quite literally Italian.
How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing all right. Yeah.
How you doing, Tim?
I'm doing all right, yeah.
Let's start off with fun fact. We got a themed fun fact this week, actually. Ties in quite nicely with the big hot news of the week.
Yeah.
So, Matt, tell us what it is.
So I thought I would dive into the world of the Nintendo Switch, since the Nintendo Switch 2 has been officially announced, and we'll be covering it probably quite extensively and discussing it extensively during this episode. So, learning from the Wii U's gamepad, the Nintendo decided that they recognized the potential, rather, of its off-TV play feature. So, of course, the Wii U had to be integrated / work with an actual set-top box, which was the console that would sit under the TV or whatever. But the Wii U gamepad itself, needed that connection, and so the Switch is the next kind of revolutionary step. And it was a bit of a gamble because the Wii U didn't really do too well commercially, but Nintendo believed in this off-TV kind of play feature. And what I kind of want to focus on today, as this is sort of the fun part of the fun fact, is actually the prototypes of the Switch. So with these ideas in mind of this off-TV, hey, I don't need a tablet connected to a console. The tablet is the console. Kind of interesting here. So some early prototypes resemble just a clunky tablet with detachable sides that functioned as controllers. Now that's a pretty standard, prototype, no big deal. Some of these are going to get pretty wild though. So there was another prototype where they had non-detachable controllers. So early designs for the Switch considered a more traditional handheld console with fixed controls, similar to the Vita or Game Boy Advance. And of course, the handheld team, which, had long since not worked on the Game Boy Advance, but had more recently been working on the DS line, like DS, 2DS, 3DS, those type of things. They obviously would help Nintendo kind of bring this eventual idea of the Switch to life. Now, this version, where they were non-detachable controllers, was ultimately scrapped because it lacked the modular flexibility that Nintendo envisioned for multiplayer and versatility in gameplay. And that's actually a feature that I forget about a lot on the Switch, where the Joy-Cons themselves are actually each individual controllers that can be used on some simple games to play two-player. So the second prototype that I have listed here is called the clamshell design, otherwise known as a dual screen hybrid. And this was inspired, of course, as I mentioned before, by the Nintendo DS, and 3DS. And this model, of course, had two screens, just like the DS or the 3DS. One was for traditional gameplay, and the other was used as a secondary touchscreen, which could be used to display things like map or inventory, just like it does in many of the DS games. The dual screen approach was abandoned because it increased the size and complexity of the device, making it less sleek and portable. Mm-hmm. The next one here is a built-in screen in the dock, this is where it starts getting going off the rails here a little bit. So a dock prototype included a built-in secondary screen that could act as a map display, inventory screen, or even a smaller mirror for gameplay. The idea was ultimately abandoned because it complicated the dock and increased production costs, clashing with Nintendo's goal of simplicity and affordability. Now, the dock today is really simple, right? Like there's a little bit of electronics in there, but for the most part, it's a
Yeah.
glorified like plastic holder with some ports on it.
Yeah.
More
Yep.
or
It's an
less.
adapter, really.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't even boost like it doesn't have like a graphics card built in or anything like that. It just
Yeah.
provides sustained power, so it can do 1080 when plugged in, right?
Yes. Or wait, no. Yes. I don't remember. I actually have never docked my Switch. Does it do 1080 at dock, Tim?
What?
I don't remember.
You've never docked your Switch.
It's always been in handheld mode.
I think if it's not 1080, it might be 900p or something. Like it might not be full 1080.
But it's higher than the screen's resolution, right?
I
Isn't
think
that
it's
the
higher
case?
than the screen resolution. If only there was some way we could find out this information.
Well, Google doesn't exist. So.
We already
Oh,
used
okay.
our one Google of the day. Yeah.
This is my first cell phone plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got one text a day.
One text and like 15 kilobytes a day.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned this, Ryan, of like, does the dock boost the power? Well, one of the prototypes was actually a dock with extra processing power. So some early dock prototypes included an additional GPU to boost the Switch's graphical performance when docked. And this would have allowed for 4K output or even higher frame rates in dock mode, but it was deemed too costly for production and would have limited portability. Instead, Nintendo opted to rely solely on the Tegra X1 chip to balance performance across modes. And that, of course, I believe that chip is from NVIDIA. So they partnered with them for the Switch.
I do want to jump in too. I just looked it up. So yeah, it runs in 720 when in handheld mode. And then when you plug it in, it gets sustained power and then boosts the resolution to 1080.
Okay.
It is 1080. Yeah, okay.
It basically overclocks the CPU, I think.
Well, you wouldn't have to consider battery, right? Like it even said there, like sustained power. So at that point, it's like, it's no longer like, man, we better keep this thing alive because, we only have so much battery life left
And
on the thing.
the Switch is actively cooled, right? It has a fan in it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's wild.
Yeah.
man.
That checks out though because there are definitely performance dips docked.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I never thought of that actually. But yeah, because I guess like one of the reasons why, ultimately they were getting a Switch 2 is because like this thing is quite dated at this point. Like came out 2017 or something. I think we were talking
2017.
earlier. Like that's
It's kind of funny though that you can't. I mean, it's Nintendo. They probably don't want to give you the choice, but it'd be interesting if you could dock it, keep it at 720, and just get higher frame rates when docked. So maybe you won't get those performance dips. But
I
then
feel like that
720
would,
on a 4K screen is kind of.
would that take away from the simplicity?
Maybe,
Because we're seeing a lot of like, at the end of the day, technically having a dock with extra processing power, like more GPU hardware or something, is technically more advanced,
more expensive though too.
more complex, more expensive as well. Like there's a multifaceted issue.
that
However,
might have hurt the sales of it if it was that expensive.
right, but however, like you also have to consider that, like in terms of the user experience, they don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
Like they just plug it in, and it's like, oh look, now it's better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moving on to more prototypes here, sliding controllers. Now, obviously, we do have sliding controllers in the form of the Joy-Con. However, some early Joy-Con concepts experimented with horizontal sliding rather than the vertical alignment that we see in the final design. And the sliding mechanism was found to be less intuitive, and horizontal sliding created stability issues when the Joy-Cons were attached to the console.
Whoa.
Yeah, like, oh shit. Something that we're going to probably talk about with the Switch too.
I was going to say, thank God they don't have to worry about that for the Switch too. Oh, wait a minute.
No,
Yeah,
we won't
hang on,
bring that
hold
up.
up. Another prototype here, just kind of going rapid fire. One Joy-Con prototype included biometric sensors that could measure, of course, measure a player's heart rate and stress levels, similar to the unreleased Wii Vitality Sensor project. And another one that to tack on a Joy-Con with additional features. Another concept featured mini screens or touch-sensitive panels on the Joy-Con for added functionality, but this was dropped to avoid overcomplicating the hardware and increasing battery drain.
Kind of like the VMUs for the Dreamcast.
A little bit, yeah,
But
definitely.
you know what's funny is that there are some like very basic rudimentary biometric scanners on the existing Joy-Cons now. You can use the IR scanner when you're playing Ring Fit Adventure to measure your heartbeat.
Oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
I also forgot it was infrared because the Joy-Cons are kind of like Wiimotes in a way.
Yeah, the right Joy-Con has an IR scanner on the bottom of it.
Oh my god! All right, man. Do you guys remember when phones had IR blasters so we could like control our TVs? I used to do that with
iPhones never did.
well, Android did, and I remember I used to do that with I want to say a LG G4 or something like that. I used to do that with that thing, and it was ridiculous.
As an iPhone user, you were expected to have an Apple TV, and then you could control the Apple TV with your phone.
Expected to have Apple TV is crazy.
I'm in a cult.
You just
We're
get
all
a
in a
thumbs
cult.
up. You can't just say I'm in a cult. Thumbs up.
I'm in a cult. Dun, dun.
I'm in a cult. Ding. Okay, next prototype. Like what?
Our secret handshake is like eating an apple.
I thought your secret handshake was going to be like smashing an iPhone, and then you had to go buy a new one.
No, we would never smash an iPhone.
Or not smash, but like to update your iPhone so it's now slow, and then you have to go buy a new one.
I would also think
we put
Ryan,
it in
that
a box, and we keep it in that box for the rest of its life.
wouldn't you not eat an apple? Would you just eat a BlackBerry?
Ooh.
Why?
Because you're not going to cannibalize your own product.
No, but our logo literally is a bite of an apple.
It's a joke. Wouldn't an Apple enthusiast eat a BlackBerry?
But yeah, but we already destroyed BlackBerry, so we
I know,
don't
but
even think about BlackBerry anymore.
No, we're not. Ugh.
Now you're
Come
eating
on.
the corpse of the company you destroyed.
Boo! All right, I thought that would land better. All right, next.
The part where you have to say it's a joke is, I think, when the comedy peaks.
Yeah.
I think that's
horrible.
when it's the funniest.
Yeah.
It's- next prototype here, a
behind
non-funny
a scarf.
prototype.
Oh, very serious prototype. Okay.
Oh, very serious, very serious.
Yeah, very
Okay, this one
professional.
here this one here had a built-in Pico projector, allowing players to project the game onto the wall for instant big screen multiplayer. While this was, of course, an intriguing idea, the projector reduced battery life significantly and added bulk to the console, leading to the feature's cancellation.
That's a cool thing to have for an accessory. Probably not like a first party main product gimmick. Because like when I was a kid, actually weirdly, I had a period of time where for Christmas one year, I got like a portable projector that had composite connections. So I could like, if we like went somewhere, I could bring my N64 or GameCube and I could bring my projector and I could just project like the N64 onto the wall or whatever, instead even, or the ceiling even, if there was like no TV. So when I was a kid, before I never actually had a TV in my room, but I had my desk opposite the one wall in my room that had nothing on it. And so I would put the projector on that and I would project onto the wall of my room and then I would play like Ocarina or Mario Tennis and stuff like that. Super cool. I thought it was the coolest thing as a kid.
That's cool.
Was it? That wasn't first party, right? Like that was a third party accessory.
Yeah, it wasn't even necessarily supposed to be for gaming. It was supposed to be like, oh, have a sleepover and watch, movies on your wall. Like it was definitely marketed for kids, but that device was pretty sick. It had a lot of potential.
I was going to say PowerPoint presentations, but then you said it was marketed at kids.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, it was like a weird like gray and orange color scheme, I think. It's cool though. I wonder where that thing went.
I bought it.
Oh, nice. Oh yeah, there it is in your background right there.
It just turns on. Integrated AR, which stands for augmented reality, of course. Support was also tested. Nintendo tested prototypes with AR cameras built into the console for augmented reality gameplay, similar to the AR cards that were used and included with new purchases of the 3DS. This feature was scrapped because it increased hardware costs and did not align with the Switch's hybrid gameplay focus.
Yeah, that's
also
the thing with the 3DS that I didn't see a lot of love for.
The only memory I have of them is watching someone test it once, and then Marty puked on his right after he got them. And that's my only memory of the AR cards.
Because the
Jesus.
3DS 3D was so bad that he was like, oh, I'm so dizzy, and then he puked.
And no, something happened where he needed to puke, and he thought he had two bags, and he thought he grabbed an empty bag, but instead he grabbed the bag with the AR cards in there, and he accidentally puked in that bag.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, this has been a number of years, but that's exactly how I remember it.
Oh.
Tragedy, just like the holographic display prototype. There's only a few more here. Nintendo briefly explored integrating a holographic display where 3D images could appear to pop out of the screen. And this technology was considered too expensive and impractical for consumer use. Yeah, you're not kidding, because I don't see it on anything today. Much like the stereoscopic 3D feature of the 3DS, which had mixed reception and was sometimes toggled off for the life of a user's Nintendo 3DS, like me. I turned it on every now and then. I was like, nah, I'm good. Then every now and then it's just like, maybe I'll try it again. Nah, I'm good.
If ever I put it on, it was just the first tick of it being on.
Oh yeah, just enough for you to be like, oh, it's a little different. It looks a little different.
Yeah.
Motion controlled dock concept. This one's freaking ridiculous. One prototype dock included sensors that allowed players to control certain game elements by physically tilting or moving the docked console.
Oh, jeez.
This idea was abandoned to avoid confusing players, and complicating gameplay mechanics. Imagine having like a kid who's like, not the most dexterous, like, kind of clumsy. It's a kid, and you're like, okay, we're gonna put like your Nintendo like DS dock or Nintendo like Switch dock by the TV, and then a kid has to run up and start like shaking the crap out of the, dock.
Yeah.
You know what this shows though is Nintendo has like a no bad ideas policy when trying to develop a new technology.
I was going to say something very similar. Like, it's nice to know, because I always say I'm such a huge like fan of companies like still trying weird shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so clear that even though, sometimes not all of Nintendo's things that they do like end up with as like a feature on their fully released product, it just goes to show how much weird stuff they do try and then go, nah, this is too weird even for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or next time.
Next time, yeah.
You know what though? The notes of this stuff like might actually push something else forward. Like, I know it's a motion controlled dock, but they might be like, hey, those chips that you use in that prototype, those are pretty good. Maybe we'll put those in a Joy-Con or something right down the road or whatever.
Often
else.
Developing one thing leads to developing of something else like adjacent to it.
Yeah. Just two more here. Interchangeable modules was also a prototype. So a modular prototype allowed players to swap out different components, such as larger batteries, extra storage, or specialized controllers with unique features. For me personally, this kind of reminds me of that, I think it was like Google Project Ara or something like that, where they had like the phone, and the phone was like a mosaic of tiles on the back. I don't know if you guys remember this. And you could like pop off the tiles, and the tiles were actually components. So you're like, oh, this is my RAM, this is my CPU, I'll just buy a better one. And then it would like magnet / like click onto the back. And then you would have like a better processor now and stuff like that. So it was kind of I would imagine like part of the era of like, hey, do people want to be upgrading our stuff, or like what are the consumers going to do? But unfortunately for Nintendo, while this idea was of course innovative, especially at the time, the idea made the console less durable and more expensive to manufacture. And the last one here, e-ink screen attachment. Nintendo experimented with an e-ink screen attachment that can be used for notifications, game stats, or as a reading device for digital manuals or ebooks. This idea was dropped due to low demand for e-ink in gaming and the potential for confusion among users. Man, I can imagine the e-ink being like the PlayStation 5 tiles. But yet you have this like whole hardware accessory. And it's like, man, my 5, Nintendo games that I have, they have the like the manual, but any third party game I have, short of like launch day ones or like Ubisoft ones or something, they like none of them have a manual. So I just have this extra display like hanging out here. No, disaster. So of course, Nintendo landed on a rather portable device that included multiplayer built in with the Joy-Cons, with the two Joy-Cons. And early Joy-Cons were, I guess, inspired, I guess you could say, by Wii remotes with IR sensors and motion control built in. Of course, the Wii remote was much larger. The IR sensor stuck because we have that now, and of course, the motion control to some extension did stick as well. Nintendo's engineers worked on perfecting the HD rumble feature, aiming to make it feel as precise as possible. And there was a demo, I believe, of like somebody, quote unquote, holding a glass with ice in it. And they were like shaking the ice around with the Joy-Con, and you could kind of, I mean, I haven't done this myself, but you could kind of feel the ice actually kind of bouncing around more than like a DualShock 2 or 3 example, where it just kind of like shakes on one side or the other or both.
Yeah, that was a mini game in 1-2 Switch, which was one of the launch titles that was like that mini games game. And I played it once, and I was actually pretty insanely impressed at how much it genuinely felt like there were marbles rolling around inside the Joy-Con.
And for back then too, like that's pretty crazy, because like phones were still figuring out their friggin' vibration motors. Like vibration motors were too loud, they were too too weak, too strong. Like they were still figuring that stuff out at that era. Like not all of them. Like some of them had kind of sorted it out, but it was still something that people thought of.
Hmm. I never really that you just mentioned that. As kind of a throwaway comment, I hadn't thought about how the Switch is, I think, the only console that had local multiplayer baked into it. Like you can buy consoles like the Costco bundle or whatever, PS5 that comes with 2 controllers, but that's like an extra. Like every console has only ever come with just 1 controller, right?
Yeah, I want to say.
But at bare minimum, the Switch has to come with 2. I never really thought about that.
Because the Switch does not come with a Pro controller. It always comes.
I mean, I don't remember.
Two Joy-Cons.
I don't know about like older consoles, like if Atari came with 2 or not or whatever.
Maybe
or if there was like a bundle that had 2 of them, that like an official bundle. I did have a PS2 that came with 2 controllers, but you're right, it was in like a big,
it's like a special
bundle, and it was probably from a Costco or something. I don't know where my grandpa got it, but it was so it was like a separate controller in its own separate retail packaging.
Anyway.
Yeah, modern consoles for sure, like only ever come with 1. Yeah, and of course, so Nintendo prototyped and tested various hardware configurations, balancing graphical power and battery life. Some early builds were more powerful but generated too much heat for portable use, while others had better battery life but sacrificed too much performance. And eventually, it landed with the partnership with NVIDIA to use the aforementioned Tegra X1 chip. And that chip solved this dilemma between heat, portability, and battery life by providing a balance of both, making it possible to achieve seamless transitions between handheld and docked modes. Now, of course, this chip is criticized today. I would say this chip is criticized largely because of its age and not so much because it's like a bad chip in any way. But I mean, that's it. We have the Switch that we have today because of all these prototypes, experimentation, influence from things like the Vita, influence from stuff like the Wii U, of course, was a huge thing. And this was a big risk. Like Nintendo had lost out big time on the Wii U, unfortunately. And I mean, their handheld division was doing great. Again, DS, the whole line, 3DS and all the rest of it, 2DS, XL, blah, blah, blah. List goes on. A whole bunch of those were doing fantastic, but it's got to be scary kind of making the jump of like, hey, let's just make our primary console not a set-top box anymore. Let's make this thing, cannibalize our handheld division more or less. And then like take over this other, take kind of after the console, the Wii U, that didn't do too well.
Yeah, I mean, they knew that they were competing against like PS4 and Xbox One, and they were like, our answer isn't going to be a powerful console like those. Yeah. It's going to be a entertainment unit console, but it's also going to be portable, which, like you said, was probably a big risk, because I guess they were already planning to like stop production and support for the 3DS by that point. They were like, we'll have the Switch do it.
Yeah, and it kind of, I mean, what would have been the previous console, like the Wii U? Or like I guess what I mean is like, when did Nintendo just kind of seem to go and do its own thing? Like the Switch is an example of that, but was it the beginning of that? Like there's no official
GameCube,
date.
I would say.
Yeah, GameCube.
The smaller discs and smaller form factor and less powerful and all that kind of stuff that we see today.
Yeah, because at that time the Xbox and the PS1, or the original Xbox and the PS2, because Nintendo, like with the N64, their competition was like Atari, Dreamcast, and then like the first PlayStation. But then once Microsoft came on the scene and then Sony was like the PS2, it was so clear that like these are like butting heads. And Nintendo was like, we got the GameCube. And the GameCube didn't sell very well at all. Like, no. I think people were excited about having a powerful home console, and the GameCube did not have that. The GameCube was actually, I think, partially supposed to be a like sort of air quotes portable console, because it genuinely it had the handle on the back of it. Like a dedicated handle for you to carry the console around like a briefcase.
Well, which people did. We had certain days at school where it was just like a game day, and we would bring in our consoles and stuff.
People playing Melee in the cafeteria.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, I mean, it was a great tournament console. Super portable. But anyway, this isn't about the GameCube. This is about the Switch.
Well, it's about Nintendo at large, but their thought process when developing new consoles.
I'm honestly still surprised that they cannibalized their handheld division.
But like it's still a handheld, though. They simply replaced both their consoles with a combination of their consoles.
Yeah,
it's just
their consoles had a baby, and then it was the Switch.
It would have been one heck of a scary move, though. Like a big freaking move.
Yeah, and it paid off. Look at it. Yeah, crazy. Pulled them out of that Wii U era. No one even remembers the Wii U era now.
I really like how they have like the 2 for the Switch 2, because they clearly don't want people to get another Wii U situation where they don't realize that this is a follow-up console?
I think they should have doubled down. I think they should have been like, oh, you're, all right, you bastards. You know, it's just the Switch U.
The
See how
Super
you like it.
Switch.
Yeah, we're going to prove it worked. It's good marketing. Screw you.
You were wrong about the Wii U.
Yeah, now buy it, goddammit.
I saw some good speculation for different names for it. I really like the Super Switch, a la the like Nintendo Entertainment System, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, but also the Switch, like Switch with two eyes, but have them be Roman numerals.
That's pretty good.
And it also has the word Wii in it, so there you go.
Yeah.
The Switch sounds like a
Yeah,
version
yeah, yeah.
of the console that like a villain came up with, like Dr. Robotnik. Like,
This
what
is
fuck?
the Nintendo Switch. Or like when you'd buy off of like Temu, like some like wish.com. Freaking, this isn't the Switch, it's the Switch. It's legally distinct.
Yeah.
Tragic. It's-
All right. Well, thank you, Matt. I mean, this kind of just leads into our first story anyway, so we might as well just keep talking about the Switch 2. So it was finally announced. It had leaked, and then Nintendo said what has leaked was not official, and everyone's like, well, obviously. You know, that's the whole. A leak is never official.
Yeah.
But I also heard stories that they were very angry because they had this video ready to go, so they were probably pretty close to revealing it.
Yeah.
And it leaks right before they probably were ready to show it off, and it's just like, man, that would piss me off.
It was two ex-PR, Nintendo PR people, right? That had said
Was it?
the people that they had like
The people they knew.
the people that they were still sort of in contact with were saying that internally Nintendo was livid.
Yeah.
So that actually kind of lends a sense of legitimacy to the leaks. Because if
Yeah.
it wasn't anything Nintendo was concerned about, then they wouldn't be pissed, right?
It still boggles my mind how this stuff leaks anyway. Well, I mean, you're already manufacturing and probably getting marketing together, so there's so many hands dealing with this stuff, right? You can't really stop it, but
Yeah.
everything seems to leak nowadays. Nothing's like really a surprise, you know?
Well, it's like you have to consider how many people are involved in like the process at this point. You ever try to get like 58 people to keep a secret? It's genuinely impossible. Someone's
Yeah.
going to tell someone.
There's also
There's
like
that.
hints of stuff too. Like if someone goes on LinkedIn or something and just says they're working on an unannounced project
Yeah.
in Japan or whatever, then people are like, oh my god, like it has to be this because this job was available on a job board and
Yeah.
it closed, and now this person's saying this, therefore it must be for the Switch 2, and yada yada.
Yeah. Cross-referencing and with context and stuff. Yep.
All right, so this little breakdown I got of all the features and stuff is from IGN. Yeah, I guess we'll kind of just talk about it. Obviously, it's larger. They did show that off, that the screen got a little bigger. I don't think we know exact details on how much bigger it is and what kind of size it is. Also, I'm assuming it's OLED, right?
I would imagine so. There's no way they don't go OLED
Yeah, that'd be kind of crazy.
because that's their main production right now is OLED Switches.
They don't make the original one anymore, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's only OLED. And the Switch Lite, which I guess isn't OLED, but
We kind of touched on this a bit. So the Switch 2 ditches the original Switch's rail connecters for a magnetic snap-on system.
is it confirmed to be magnetic?
According to this one, it's magnetic, but I would only assume because that's how they showed it. It was like,
They did show them like snapping together, and I was thinking like this does look like
oh, it
magnets,
should have been Nintendo Snap, not a Switch.
but it still does what a Switch does.
It
Matt
still
didn't-
switches from a console
Yeah, then-
to a mobile console.
To a handheld,
Then Matt's should not be called a Switch because he's never docked it. So
yeah. And the Switch Lite should also not be called a
he's
Switch.
got a Nintendo Game Boy Snap.
Game Boy Snap.
Game
I
Boy
don't know.
Snap, more like Game Boy Slide because it still got the sliders. Also, for this article, Ryan, it does say, so we're referring to an IGN article, and it says, and so we've rounded up everything announced in Nintendo's Switch 2 reveal alongside all confirmed features and games.
So you're saying the magnetic is confirmed?
Yes, that's correct. Like it's in the same article, so it is confirmed.
Well, yeah, I imagine they released a press release too, probably to the press, maybe.
Likely.
Yeah. I saw a funny comment that at the very end, like one of the controllers like snaps away, and someone said like it's already defective because it just.
Oh.
Anyway.
Well, we were talking about, Tim and I were talking about how like you'd be holding your Switch 2 with two hands, right? You're holding both Joy-Cons then, assuming it's in handheld mode, and then if you went to go do something with one hand, like go grab a drink, take a sip of your drink, you're holding on with just your left hand at that point if you're grabbing with it right, grabbing for the drink with your right. And like the question we had was, how secure is this thing? Like the magnetic is great, and you can see that there's a port there. So there's like a port on the side, and there's like an interface of the port. But we were curious, like how secure / steady, stable is like one Joy-Con going to be? Because with magnets, it's like, oh, like, is there going to be enough like gravitational pull, quite literally, to like pull the
magnetic
Joy-Con
pull, I guess, right?
Well, like no gravitational pull to pull the magnet off. Like, is it going to be enough of a thing? Now, if you look at where the rail kind of is, like there's kind of like a rail system there. I know it isn't a rail system, but it's like the interface on the Joy-Con itself. There's like a colored bit of plastic where the rail was on the first Joy-Cons, and the port's there, of course, but it's rather large. Like it's pretty thick, it looks like. And so the actual Joy-Con is kind of like inserts into the Switch 2 a little bit by like a fair bit. So there's a bit of a shelf there, if you will, but still depends on what orientation you're holding this thing as to how much like shelf is being kind of pushed against, right? So then if you look again at the top and in the video at the bottom of that rail, not rail system, that colored plastic, you can see that there's two indents. And like Tim, like you and I were discussing how we think that like that must be a click in system, or like, because I think you mentioned actually, Tim, that there's like an eject button. So there must
there's
be
an
like
eject
a click
button on the colored portion of the
at the very top there, eh?
Yeah, it shows it. So for those who are curious to see it themselves, there's some extra footage that you won't see on the actual announcement trailer that Nintendo put out. But if you go to the Nintendo website and see the info page for the Nintendo Switch 2, there is an animation, like video in the background that shows extra footage of the console from different angles, which includes the Joy-Cons and how they connect. And you can see some of these details there in greater detail.
Yeah, so it's like a one-way like clip, right?
Yeah.
So when the controller or the Joy-Con's going in, that whatever's holding it in pops up and then slides into that slot and locks it in place, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine then. That should work. I mean, they obviously tested this. They've obviously prototyped it.
Yeah.
It hopefully works.
But it's just they sort of neglected to show that part with the actual video, and I've seen a lot of people online commenting saying the Joy-Cons are going to break that pin so easily. Like there's nothing holding it there.
That's the only thing holding it.
They think that's the only thing holding it in, and it's like, you really think Nintendo would just have that be it? That was the only thing holding it in, and then you have to hold your Switch on a very specific angle for it to not only stay plugged in but for it to work. Like clearly they've engineered this. Come on, give them at least a little bit of a benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. There's a quite big indent on the bottom too. I don't know if you can see that as well.
So it must be like a click in
the same
system.
size. It's probably not going to be as easy to get them out, but I mean, you'll still be able to.
I'd prefer that, honestly.
Yeah.
You can also see on the video on their information website that how the Joy-Cons are released from the side of the Switch. There's a pull trigger on the inside sides of the sort of shoulder where the ZR and ZL are, that you pull sideways, and then it pushes a pin into the inside of the Switch tablet, where that connection point is at the top, and that's what helps sort of push the top half of the Joy-Con away from the Switch body, so that you can then pull the rest of it out, just to probably get it like consistently off the pins.
I mean, I will say that I like the look of this system in general. Like it, assuming it's been tested and is stable and everything. I found the sliders to be a bit janky-ish. Like it was great for the time, and it's it's still convenient. But I think that magnets and just like clicking things together is just sort of the future. It just feels a lot smoother.
I don't know if I like that more pastel-y red, I guess you would call it, or coral, or I'm not a big fan of that. I like the brighter red on the old one, but this kind of is the case with almost every tech product. If it has color, they transition between bright, bold colors and more muted tones, and then they'll go back at a certain point.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%.
The original Switch looks so iconic to me with those entire Joy-Cons being colored. Why do you think they abandoned that and went for like an all black unit?
To me, it almost seems like I saw somebody speculate that they're for like the obviously for the foreseeable future, they're going to keep the Switch in production for at least a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And that they're going to, kind of market this one as maybe a more premium product. And that one's going to be the more affordable option. And so it's like looks less premium too. But in my mind, I think that's kind of a foolish move because Nintendo's hardware has always been about being like very clearly marketed to kids and stuff, or not even just kids, but for everyone, right? Including kids. And so to make it palatable for younger audiences and like you say, the kind of more or less saturated color scheme seems odd. And I do agree that I really hope they do have more like bombastic designs for the new Joy-Cons because just like the gray with a slight color accent is not Nintendo to me. Feels
Yeah,
like they're
It
trying
does
to
look
be
like a
like everyone
Switch,
else.
like put on a suit or something.
a Switch
Yeah.
Pro.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It's like dressed up.
Although, I mean, if you knock $100 off the old Switch and keep selling it, that might
Yeah.
sell like crazy too.
Yeah.
It's $400 in Canada. A $300 Nintendo console would be crazy.
Well, the Switch Lite is what, 250?
Yeah, 260.
260.
I mean, yeah, that's all you really need too, though.
Yeah.
What if they could just keep the light around?
I feel like they'll. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I was gonna say I feel like they'll get rid of it and then treat the Switch if they do like a price drop, treat it as the new like Switch Lite or Switch Affordable or whatever. But the point of the Switch Lite was that like it's for the people that only want to use it in handheld mode, and so the reason it's more affordable is because it doesn't have that extra like hardware considerations, right?
Yeah.
It's more a complete form factor. But I don't know. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they start to phase stuff out.
It's due out in 2025, obviously, but they didn't have an exact date.
No, the speculation is June,
Yeah.
or at least that's what like earlier leaks said.
It won't be released before June, given its hands-on event schedule runs up to June 1st.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think they're saying end of June. That's what people are thinking.
So this is one of the interesting features they announced, or not announced, but showed. There's new sensors on the Joy-Cons, and potentially could be used as a mouse. And the video confirms this functionality, although to what degree we do not know. Could the Joy-Con also be used in some other way? We were talking before the podcast about like what kind of like usability this would be. Obviously, new games would come out that might take advantage of this. But on IGN, I had also heard that a more PC centric game like Civilization could actually take advantage of that because that game probably is a lot better with a mouse. And with the kickstand, you could just set it up on a desk somewhere and just start playing basically a PC game, which sounds pretty cool to me.
That's cool. I mean, theoretically, you could do the same with like a Steam Deck, but this is much more affordable.
Yeah.
I saw a comment that was quite funny, even though it was quite sad. Was there's a part in the video where they show the like potential mouse functionality, and the two Joy-Cons are kind of like racing around and like drifting, and people are like, "Wow, it's already got Joy-Con drift."
God damn it.
Leaks suggest that the Nintendo Switch 2's right Joy-Con had a new C button, and the reveal trailer confirmed this to a degree. There is indeed a new square button on the bottom of the right Joy-Con, but it's unmarked. So we do not know at this stage if it has a name.
I saw that
No
too.
idea what it's for.
And I was wondering the same. Somebody online I saw said apparently there's speculation that it's a scroll pad,
I heard that too, but that's pretty small.
but that's really tiny.
Yeah.
Unless they're trying to do it like the like one of those little nubbins that used to be on the old like Lenovo ThinkPads in the middle of the keyboard.
Oh yeah.
Like a little red nubbin.
Those are horrible. I don't know why people like those.
I used to use those. Used to use that damn thing.
It's terrible.
I mean, I could say biometrics, but that seems a bit advanced for a console.
Yeah.
Maybe not though. Biometrics are pretty like mundane now. Like
But
at the
on
The
the
time
front
of,
front
you need
face of
it,
the
though.
console though, yeah.
you pick it up, poop, you're in. Because
It
like
is,
right now,
it is a portable device that you
Oh, like a
might want to
thumbprint
keep.
scanner?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, hang on. You
because
could just like log into your profile with your thumbprint, maybe.
like it's weird to be like hit the home button 3 times. Like it's just like what?
You can.
I mean,
you
I
can
don't
change
have to do that.
Matt.
Yeah, what are you
can-
talking about?
In the settings, you can change that.
That's how I unlock my Switch. Home.
Me too, but you can change it.
No, I've never done that ever.
What do you do?
I just turn it on. It's not locked. Why would I lock
Oh.
my Switch?
Like I said, I quite literally unboxed this thing, did the initial setup, and then like
Yeah, by
was like,
default.
I'm gonna
by
play some
default-
games,
By default, Matt, it does do the 3-click thing.
and that's a little bit weird. Like I get it, it's locked and whatever, but thumbprint
They don't
makes a lot
want
of-
you
makes a lot of sense.
accidentally turning on the screen and unlocking it in your bag or whatever. So
Right.
they want that 3 presses so it knows you're trying to unlock it.
I have a hard enough time getting my Switch to turn on just hitting the power button anyway. It's not going to turn on in the freaking backpack. Jeez.
And then the Switch 2 has 2 USB-C ports.
Yeah, that's huge, man. Like, it seems like such a small thing, but I'm honestly pretty stoked for that because it means you can have the thing in the tabletop mode with the kickstand and charge it at the same time, which is like something
Is
that
that
I
the
saw
big
people
reason?
complaining about a lot. And it's like, yeah, like why do you have it where you have this kickstand for your Switch, but then when it's in portable mode, it only has a battery life of like 3-4 hours usually on the high end, depending on what game you're playing. But you can't charge it when it's got the kickstand out? Stupid.
According
So
to
that's also-
IGN 2, is that if you wanted to use more than one accessory with the Switch console, you would have to splash out for somewhat dubious adapters,
Oh,
which had
that's
the
true
tendency
too.
to brick your console, as manufacturers figured out the exact specification that the Switch should use. The original Switch claimed to be USB-C compliant, but the reality is that the USB-C connector had a weird and complex specification. Within it, Nintendo essentially created a custom spec that needed to be reverse engineered before third-party docks and accessories function correctly without burning out pins inside the console.
Holy
Oh,
crap.
God.
Holy fuck.
Use third party at your own risk, I guess.
So what accessories would you use with this though? What's available?
I've seen people use
It's like those extended battery packs and stuff.
extended
Oh.
battery packs, but I've seen people use like the docks. Like the docks you have for like a laptop where you plug it into USB-C and it has like a breakout of like, a
Yeah.
bunch of different ports where it's not like a dock in the traditional sense of like an old ThinkPad where you like click it into a spot. It's just sort of like a row of ports basically with like a little cable attached. I've seen people use those and then they like quote unquote break out their Switch to their TV and then they HDMI to that. And that's a more portable dock than the regular dock. But
Yeah.
that's a lot of like random, multimedia information passing around stuff that's going through that one port then.
Thankfully, the Switch 2 is backward compatible, both physical and digital Nintendo Switch games.
Huge.
Yeah,
That is huge because I use my Switch for like more or less retro games. I have like a bunch of old like physical games that were ported over to it, like Risen and Gothic and stuff like that. And it's like they would really suck to like lose that because they're like I don't want to have to like buy them digitally if I want to play them.
And then just one new game was shown off, Mario Kart 9. What we
Mario
presume
Kart,
is Mario Kart 9.
Probably 9, yeah.
Most likely 9. Nintendo Switch 2 Direct is set for April 2nd, 2025. We'll probably find out more details and probably a whole new slew of games. And exciting time to be alive. Price, though. What do you guys want for price? So the current Switch OLED. Is that OLED?
Yep.
Oh, regular. So they still do sell the
Huh?
original. Is that
Oh,
true?
okay.
$400
you still
for
buy
the
it?
OG, I guess.
Okay.
And then OLED is $450 Canadian. How much will the Switch 2 be?
Sounds like it's going to be 500 unless they're going to price drop the OLED before this one comes out and then have the Switch 2 be 450. Some people were speculating 600 and I'm like, I don't know if I can justify 600 Canadian for a Nintendo console.
That's a lot. And I know they don't care about power, but that's a lot for like an underpowered console.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I
the other thing
agree.
too is we don't know specs yet. Like it
Yeah.
could be cracked. It won't be, but it could be. They could wow everybody. They could pull a Steam Deck and be like, this thing shouldn't be as powerful as it is.
But at the same time, the Steam Deck is now a competitor. Obviously not for Nintendo games, but it's a different landscape launching today than it was when the Switch first launched. And
And
how
it's
much is the
also-
Steam Deck? It's not that price, right?
Lowest end Canadian is like 400, right? Or is it 3 something?
Look,
Yeah.
so I actually have bestbuy.ca open here. For the regular console that is not OLED, we're looking at $399.99
Steam Deck?
Canadian dollar. Or no, sorry, Switch, and then $449.99 for the OLED.
Okay, base Steam Deck Canadian is 500. That's the LCD though,
Oh.
not OLED.
I
OLED
heard
is
yeah.
Steam Deck
yeah,
and
the
then
base
immediately
one,
started
yeah.
reading Switch prices.
yeah. OLED is 690. That's kind of getting up there.
That's a PC replacement, though. You have to remember that that's
Yeah.
still cheaper than a graphics card.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
It's
all
like buying a
consoles
laptop, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see like 450. I think 500 Canadian is the absolute uppermost limit. What I would pay,
That's what I put my money on too. Yeah, it's 500.
or maybe even like 480 or something weird.
No, they'll have a round number, won't they?
Probably.
I mean, 480 is a round number, but
Like if you're gonna do 480, you just do 500 at that point. Like
that's
it's-
basically what it would happen. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. Like, I feel like they also want to be accessible. Like, they have to. You also have to consider this is a console that Nintendo. This is a new console Nintendo is selling. Again, a massive chunk of the market is kids, and I don't know if parents are going to want to shell out $600 Canadian on like birthdays or Christmas for their kids' Switch 2. You know.
Yeah.
Also, not looking forward to the inevitable conversation of, "Mommy, I want to get the Switch 2. You already have a Switch. No, this is a Switch 2. What's the difference? I don't know." I'm going to have that conversation with parents in the fucking game stores every single day.
Oh my god.
What do you think about the kickstand on the Switch 2? It's like it's not a full flap anymore. It's like a thing that comes down and goes. It's like a little bar, but not a bar, but
it's like a
me,
U bar.
Yeah.
It's like a fusion between the original Switch kickstand and the Switch OLED kick back. I mean, the OLED one feels really good though. Like it feels really premium.
It really
it's got a really satisfying like bend to it, and
the hinge is fantastic.
The hinge is really good, and it's like made of aluminum or something, so it feels super solid compared to the little plastic dinky garbage on the first Switch.
I can't believe that one got past testing. Like that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's like the plastic door on the Wii. It covers up the SD card slot. Holy fuck.
Marty dropped his Wii down the stairs and pieces flying off the whole way down.
Who did?
Marty.
What? He's puking on friggin' AR cards. He's dropping friggin' Wii's downstairs. What's going on here?
I mean, to be fair, I dropped my Xbox 360 downstairs and it fell on a concrete floor and it worked totally fine.
Mine, you looked at it weird. It was like, all right, not today, like Buster. And then just that was it, done.
I don't know what it was about my Xbox 360, but that thing was literally built different. Like it was a tank. It never red ringed. It lived for. I still have it. That console is like almost 20 years old. I still have that thing. It works totally fine.
Man. I wish.
What was it, like a 33% failure rate on hardware for the 360? It was really high.
It was 36%. It was very, very high. I think it was higher than 33 though, because I think it's like kind of understood that. The ones that red ringed, there will eventually be a 100% failure rate.
Mm-hmm. Maybe, who knows? I'll go to try to boot it up right now and it wouldn't work. It's possible.
Red ring.
Yeah, immediately. Well, we had a good run. I would feel like that console owed me nothing, to be honest. Like, I put a lot of hours on that thing. If it died on me now, especially given how bad the failure rate was for 360s, I'd be like, Godspeed, soldier. Yeah.
54.2% failure rate.
34?
Oh, yeah.
54.
54.
54.2%. Half of their consoles would fail. Over half of their consoles would just fail once.
What an abysmal failure.
41.2% would fail twice. Only 10.6% of PS3s and 6.8% of Wii's.
Oh,
which is very impressive since how many Wii's they sold.
Yeah.
They only have a failure rate of 6.8%.
What was the percent of 11 failures?
Of 11?
I had 11 Xbox 360s.
Oh, well, yeah, you're.
Yeah, but you're also counting the ones that didn't fail.
What's that?
You're also counting the ones that you bought as backups that hadn't gotten a chance to fail yet.
Maybe one, because I had like multiple red rings. Then I had overheating. I had like the two red lights. Then I had 4 red lights, which I think was no video. Then I also had one of them, which I think is 1 red light, and so the hard drive had failed, and at the time it was cheaper due to a promotion, I want to say, to go and actually purchase a whole console if you traded in some games, because the console was getting older, and I bought it was the Inhale version, whereas they had like the Slims and stuff. I replaced a lot of fucking consoles.
Yeah, you did.
This is so funny. So this article about the 54.2% is from 2009. And then on GameSpot, if you like scroll down past the article, like a new article pops up in the same page. I don't have to leave. So I go from a 2009 article to a 2024 article or 2025 article. They just jump you right to up to date.
Keep reading. Yeah, just keep reading, bro.
Yeah. What was I going to say? It's amazing the 360 like won that generation with a failure rate of 54.2%.
Yeah.
It
just goes to show how much that price difference in the PS3 meant.
Yeah. Although, PS3 did catch up in terms of console sales and surpassed 360 at the end, but for the most part, 360 won that generation, which is just wild.
Well, it makes sense, right? People lost faith in the 360.
Well, Sony was freaking firing on all cylinders at the end there. Like, amazing first-party titles were just coming out. That was a good time to be alive, actually. The good old days. They were all the good old days.
Everything's the good old days.
These are the good old days. That's the wild
these
part.
are the good old days for 10 years from now.
Yeah, crazy. Sad thing to know. All right. Speaking of exclusives and coming to PlayStation, frickin' Halo rumored to make the jump to PlayStation this year. God damn.
Chee.
Are you guys excited to play that Master Chief Collection again on PS3, PS5?
It feels weird.
This is not happening.
So this is from IGN. Microsoft is seemingly ready to launch its flagship Xbox video game series, Halo, on rival platforms for the first time, including PlayStation and the Nintendo Switch 2. Leaker Nate the Hate, who this week reported that Nintendo is set to reveal Switch 2 on January 16th, also reported in a separate podcast that Microsoft will finally bring Halo to PlayStation in the form of PlayStation 5 port of Halo the Master Chief Collection, as well as release on Switch 2. Windows Central's Jez Corden subsequently corroborated the report. Microsoft declined to comment when contacted by IGN. While Microsoft's multi-platform video game strategy is well documented at this stage, Halo was seen as the final frontier. However, perhaps the famous first-person shooter's flight from Xbox shouldn't come as a surprise. Last year, Microsoft's gaming chief Phil Spencer said there were no, quote, red lines in his first-party lineup when it comes to going multi-platform, and that included Halo. Speaking to Bloomberg, Spencer said that every Xbox game is up for grabs when it comes to making the multi-platform jump. Quote, I do not see sort of red lines in our portfolio that say, thou must not, end quote, he said. Is this just expected at this point, or are you guys surprised that they would bring Halo to a PlayStation console, or what was your first initial reaction to this? Matt?
I don't know if it's necessarily a surprise, but I think it would be the biggest surprise, if that makes sense. This feels like Halo feels like something that they would keep as exclusive to the Xbox console, at least to me. But I mean, they've been, passing, like they've been saying like, hey, we're going to go multi-platform for so long. And there's like so many Xbox titles that are, likely going to be making the jump, if not have already done it, which makes it not that big of a surprise.
Yeah.
It does feel strange, though, to just be like, yeah, like if you want to play Halo, you can just play it anywhere, including PlayStation. Not necessarily against it, but it does beg the question of like, what does Microsoft think their new console that they're developing is going to sell on? Like there are games that sell consoles. So what is that for the console that they're currently developing?
Makes you wonder if they even are developing hardware.
Well, they confirmed that. They've said that.
Yeah. Okay.
They said it's the most powerful too, and whatever, blah blah blah, all that.
They've been saying that since
it's the most powerful
the One X,
Xbox there's ever been.
the Xbox One X,
I would hope so.
which I kind of want just as a collector's item because it's such a kind of bizarre console.
Are you looking up an Xbox One X right now? That's how you immediately type it.
Did you? Oh, yeah.
Not me.
They're still expensive on eBay though. Actually, like more expensive than I'd be willing to pay.
Well, I think they're still relevant too. Like you can still play a lot of games on them, and
That's true.
still purchase games on them and stuff. So and
I'm still
backwards
using a
compatible.
1S at my parents' house.
There you go. So yeah, I don't know. This just feels like this feels strange. I can't help but think that it's going to potentially like fire up the people that are kind of pissed off at Xbox for going multi-platform, saying like, we supported this console for so long, like you're kind of abandoning us. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that mentality. I certainly understand it, but like things do change, and I do acknowledge that. I don't know how to feel about this.
It feels like inherently wrong a little bit because like Halo was Microsoft, like you mentioned, the game selling consoles, like that was Halo. Halo sold Xboxes. Like Halo has always been Microsoft's thing, and I mean whether you like Halo first, anymore or not, it's to me it's like inherently Microsoft. So it almost feels like a weird.
It's the classic thing of like
bastardization almost.
Yeah, it's like Mario showing up on PlayStation. Like it just feels something ain't right about that.
That boy ain't right.
I would say that I would not play it likely on a PlayStation.
I'm done with that series. We played the hell out of it.
Well, what if a new one comes out though? Are you done with the series forever? Like there's nothing that you can. We're playing Halo Wars. Like we were planning to play Halo Wars at some point soon.
Right, but I'm saying the Master Chief Collection. Like I played them personally on my own, with some of them, and then we played them all on the channel. And so I'm not going to play the Halo games again on PS5.
Well, I guess what I was seeing with this is if this happens, it will likely be the Master Chief Collection. But I more so see it as it like completely burst like that gate or that dam, where then it's like, okay, then in a few months or maybe next year we'll have Halo Infinite. And then if a new Halo releases on Xbox at any point, we'll also get that on PlayStation, maybe as a timed exclusive on Xbox, and then eventually comes to PlayStation.
Like Indiana Jones.
In like Indiana Jones and such, but like I mean that one's not too crazy though, because Bethesda has been multi-platform for years, I think probably decades at this point.
But it's crazy when Starfield was Xbox only, and there's no signs of that coming to PlayStation. But then another Bethesda title, Indiana Jones, and they used the justification of like a new IP. Well, I don't actually know if they used that justification, but Starfield was a new IP, so there was no precedent for it being on PlayStation, right? So they could justify it as being Xbox only, but then Indiana Jones wasn't either. So, but that one's coming over.
I wonder if Starfield did well enough if they would have made it multi-platform.
That's exactly what I was literally about to say. I do not believe that Starfield did well enough for them to bother.
Didn't it sell a bunch of copies?
I'm sure it did as a Bethesda first party, new IP, blah, blah, blah. But the news is out for the PlayStation folks. So the excitement is likely dumbed down.
Yeah. Plus, it was also on Game Pass, which would have eaten some sales too. Would have hurt numbers for them to look at and go hey, I mean, they could have looked at how many people downloaded it and played it on Game Pass, but I wonder if just by virtue of it being on Game Pass hurt sales because people are like, oh, I'm not going to buy it because if I ever want to play it, I'll just subscribe to Game Pass, even if they aren't subscribed to Game Pass already.
That is the tricky thing now, where it's 10 million people played this game, a month in after launch, and it's like, well, how many people purchased it versus how many people have Game Pass who are playing it?
You just have to look at the achievement numbers and see the percentage of who has the first possible achievement in the story. And then it's only 65%. And you're like, wow, people didn't even play far enough to get that.
Starfield ended up taking the number 11 spot on the list of top 20 best-selling games last year, which would have been 2023.
Per that article.
Is it that old now, too? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Starfield's over a year old, for sure.
Holy crap.
Yeah, definitely.
It came out last November, or not even last November, 2 Novembers ago now.
So think about when you got that watch.
Yeah.
You think Starfield isn't worth bringing to PlayStation? Wouldn't that bolster sales a bit?
I see. What's interesting is Aaron. We talked to Aaron off air about this, and he's like last time we spoke, he's vehemently against my opinion, and I guess Tim shares this opinion too. Is that he thinks that it'll bolster sales, and he thinks that it'll kind of fix Starfield's reputation, and then that's why Starfield didn't do well is to an extent. And I'm paraphrasing from memory from what he said, so I'm not quoting him in any way. But it's he thinks that that'll really help Starfield basically. And I don't think so. I think that Starfield launched under the preface of, hey, this is a Bethesda, new IP. We don't get Bethesda RPGs that often unless they're re-releases. And so people are super excited about it. This is supposed to be a magnum opus for Todd Howard, a big game that he's wanted to make. And it's in space and it's all exciting and everything. It comes out, it's lackluster. Now I think that luster, that shininess of the Surface is gone. Will people on PlayStation purchase it? 100%. It may bolster sales 100%, but I don't think you're going to see it breaking any records. Me personally, I don't have exact numbers to prove that. But to me, it's how there are many games today that don't seem to be doing well, such as the new Dragon Age didn't seem to sell well. People are speculating on, a lot of Ubisoft games that are coming out that where you would expect it to do well and it might not. A lot of people are speculating on the new Assassin's Creed, even older Assassin's Creeds, etc. Right? There's a lot of IPs that are being kind of questioned today. And Starfield was one that hadn't been tested yet. And it was launched under that Bethesda excitement. And now I think there's going to be a lot of skepticism around Bethesda games, because not only did we have Fallout 76, but we now also have Starfield, and it's oh, yeah, okay.
They've lost favor with the audience, and they need to kind of prove themselves again.
Yeah, and I agree.
Although 76 has fought its way back, and it's one of the best played Bethesda games.
But after how many years though?
Yeah, but I'm saying they did curry back favor, I think, with that one.
Yeah,
and I think Starfield 2 would actually be better. I think they could learn a lot from Starfield 1. There's definitely, I think, a world there that they could expand on. I think it just lacked. It's too serious of a game coming from Bethesda Studios that made games like Oblivion and Fallout, which are very kind of goofy and fun, and it's just very dry and serious. And I think they went a little too far.
I wasn't hooked. I really, really tried to give it a serious chance. I tried to give it the benefit of the doubt. I tried really hard, and absolutely nothing in that game hooked me. Like I don't know what else to have done short of like maybe downloading some mods, but like everything about it just felt so bland. I don't really know how else to put it. Like the characters I wasn't interested to learn any more about any of my crew members. And like you have to spend so much time running back and forth, effectively spending all your time in load screens. And it's like, if I wanted to do that, I'd play World of Warcraft, you know?
Yeah.
There's only like a practical, because it's supposed to be a practical space game with like futurism, but like grounded in realism. And what kind of sucks about that is a lot of the stuff is like super samey. Like it'll be like, let's go on to that space station. And like, there's a bunch of missions that'll take you to different space stations. And, space stations are built in a certain way for practicality. And so a lot of them look the same. I only found one space station that was super, super unique in my playthrough. And it was a random abandoned kind of during a catastrophe, if I remember correctly, casino. And it was pretty cool. Like it was cool to loot it and stuff, but there wasn't anyone on board. And I was thinking to myself, man, if this was like a bustling, cool, like we're in space, betting and doing crazy stuff. And there's a bunch of like, rich, like again, goofy Bethesda style, like rich, affluent people that are like, oh man, like, I spent $2 billion like donating to this, crazy, like floating casino, like, but I can still bet on the surface, stupid Bethesda lines again and stuff. But instead you arrive and it's abandoned and it's dead and it's sad. And it's like, oh, okay.
I just read an article too of like I like gore in games, and they cut out the gore out of that Starfield. Mm-hmm. They were working on it, and they cut it out for some reason. I didn't see why, but
especially for games like Fallout 3, where like the bloody mess perk becomes such an iconic part of the game's identity. It's not that that we need to see gore in every future Bethesda game. Like Skyrim, also not a gory game.
But limbs would come off and heads and stuff, but
you could you could cut someone's head off and stuff, and in the kill moves and things.
Alrighty, I guess quickly here, last story. PlayStation canceled 2 unannounced live service games. This is from IGN. This one kind of hurts a bit, not because I wanted to see live service games from Sony, but Bend Studio, who made what's your favorite game there, Matt? Days Gone.
I mean, it's certainly not my favorite game, but I do enjoy Days Gone a lot. Yeah.
But they made Days Gone, and then they had the Days Gone sequel canceled because Sony canceled it, even though they said it sold well. And so like Bend hasn't really been doing much, and we haven't heard from what they've been doing for a long time. Apparently they were working on a live service game, and that got canceled now by Sony. So Bloomberg reported that Sony has ended production on 2 live service games that were in the works at Bend Studio, best known for the zombie game Days Gone, and another separate game in the works at Bluepoint Games, best known for their remasters of games like Shadow of the Colossus and Demon's Souls remake. The Bluepoint game was reportedly a live service God of War game, according to Jason Schreier. This is another surprising thing. So they bought Bluepoint, who made an amazing remake of Demon's Souls. It's still probably the best looking game on PS5. And they made them do a live service game? Like, that's so weird.
I feel like a lot of studios are forcing fantastic teams to just shift to live service now, though, because they can't ignore the money of live service.
But they think that talent of making a great single player game is translatable into a live service game, and clearly it's not. Rocksteady failed at it. I don't think you can just do it.
No, but just do it though. Look, Fortnite makes it work. Figure it out.
Well, you
just
brought
make me $1 billion.
Yeah,
you brought up a good point, Ryan. We were playing Suicide Squad because it was free on PlayStation Plus, and you said, why choose Suicide Squad? Why not choose this universe and do Justice League? And then I had mentioned that they can effectively sell us guns in this game. Like it's a looter shooter in Suicide Squad, whereas like you're not going to be like, I'm Superman, super strong, laser eyes, but I'm going to use my AK-47.
Yeah, save that for Fortnite.
Yeah.
So I guess that does lock you into certain decisions, right?
Oh, for sure. I would think anyway, unless you find a way to get around them and get around them well, that's receptive to players.
And the sad thing about Suicide Squad is you can see the single player, at least storytelling aspects are really good in Suicide Squad. The cinematics are fun. The characters are fun. It looks fantastic. The game looks super expensive. But when it comes to the live service aspect, it falls apart, you know? And so like you're literally taking a studio that's talented at making a single player game and they excelled at it, but then the rest of the game that made it fail was the live service crap that they don't know how to do, you know?
It's a little bit sad. I mean, like I think Bethesda's like to not to bring them back up again, but Bethesda's take on live service is kind of interesting. Like I know when Pete Hines worked there, he was saying that, you know, they see Skyrim as games as a service where they are, you know, kind of selling mods and re-releasing it and things like that. Like that's a title that has been made and then, you know, remade and had mods released and paid mods and, you know, the list goes on and on. And we're not playing, you know, the 2011 version of Skyrim anymore. We're not playing even the 2012, you know, updated from 2011 version of Skyrim anymore. Mm-hmm. It's been updated like big time. There's been a lot of stuff added via the community as well as Bethesda. And like, that's like fair enough. Right. And that's a way to do it because you can like hats off to Bethesda. I will say is that you can just ignore that games as a service stuff with Skyrim. Like if you just say, that's it, I want to play Skyrim on the Switch, or if I want to just play Skyrim on, you know, the PC and I just want to play the 2011 version or whatever, you know, short of you not having that version available to you, because I'm not sure if the original version is able to be purchased anymore, but you could just go and play it, right? Like you can just go and play that, completely ignore it and get like 99% of what Skyrim has to offer. So like that's a way to work around the traditional way, but like it's a good question as to how much money they're actually making from that. Because you don't hear about that, but you do hear about a Fortnite season.
Yeah. I guess this is a good thing, though, that Sony canceled these live service games, maybe because of Concord's failure. Maybe they're resetting things. A spokesperson for Sony confirmed that the cancellations to Bloomberg. Sony also added that neither studios will be closed and that they will work with them to determine what are the next projects from the two studios will be. So I'm hoping... But I think we did hear from Sony that they said that they still believe in live service games, right? Wasn't that their response when they shut down Concord?
I mean, if that's true, it's likely because there's too much money on the table. It's almost too risky to not attempt.
And then same with WB. They recognized that Hogwarts Legacy sold 20 million copies. It was the best-selling game of that year. And then the Suicide Squad was a complete disaster. And they still said, we're focused on these live service games, which sucks. I mean, I get it. If you make a good one, it's good, you know, but it's so easy to make a bad one. And most people don't, at least are saying they don't want it. However, games like Fortnite and now Marvel Rivals and Overwatch and, you know, Apex.
Well, especially when you get teams that aren't live service game teams that you're just forcing to make a live service game.
It's like when they force everyone to make PSP games or Vita games, and it's just like, well, no, they don't want to do that, you know.
And that's why the PS Vita became just a JRPG, or like a visual novel platform. It was only visual novel games,
forcing them to make PlayStation Move games. And just like, I'd like PlayStation Move. I had no problem with it. I loved it.
I have a problem with it. My freaking tennis racket never showed up.
One time, Matt.
I got a problem with this.
I got a damn problem. I was also sick as hell that day. That was horrible.
That was nice hardware, though. Those PlayStation remotes were nice.
I will say that. I'll give it to them. They felt better than the Wii.
They were quality,
yeah.
I already mentioned something interesting. I just want to mention this with live service games is that something like Fortnite, where there's games inside of Fortnite. So like Lego Fortnite example.
It's the metaverse.
The Rocket League and that. No, but like there's something interesting. Like there's something kind of in there is that Phil Spencer said, like, you know, we lost the worst generation to lose because people have like built up their digital library. With Fortnite, you do build up a digital library. You build up a digital library of skins and other accessories that go with those skins, and you keep those across multiple games.
Yeah, that's true.
And not every skin, like, of course, if you're driving, maybe your skin doesn't apply. But the point of the matter is, you are building this up, and they just released a Counter-Strike, I would call it, clone. Somebody mentioned Valorant. I've never played Valorant, but that's interesting. Like, it's just an interesting kind of like side thing is like, is Fortnite doing it the right way? Like I've been like saying that Fortnite has the best games as a service that I can recommend. Like it doesn't feel like you're being cheated. You know exactly what you're buying. You know exactly how much time it's going to take. You know what you're getting. That's it.
Well, you could play it all for free, right? It's everything on there is free.
Play it for free, like that. Yeah, that's exactly right. There's free versions of battle passes, whatever. And we might be entering into a bit of a weird era where there's multiple battle passes. There always were sometimes like kind of a bonus battle pass if there was an event. Now it feels like there's a lot of battle passes, like there's a Lego pass and stuff. However, maybe that's an indication that people are going to the Lego game and only playing that, and so they want a battle pass. Like, I mean, I don't know, right? But the point of the matter here is that Fortnite is offering more than just Battle Royale now. Like, we don't say Fortnite Battle Royale as much as we just say Fortnite, and then it's like, oh, like what? Like Lego or this or that or the Rock Band clone. It's interesting to me that like it is you really are building up your digital library of digital assets, not NFTs, of digital assets. To be clear, in this game,
Fortnite,
and then you get
platform.
to use it forever. Like, well, I would feel really bad if my Fortnite account was like deleted for some reason. Like if Epic was like, hey, we're shutting down Fortnite, I'd be like, holy fuck, I got so much stuff in there.
What's weird too is like it's almost like a hoarder's mentality because I don't use probably 99% of the things in the battle pass.
Yeah.
But there's just a joy to unlocking it and having it in my collection and just being like, this is mine. That's weird. I understand it's weird, but it's just the way it is. And you're right.
I have so much stuff I can like shop in my own collection.
It's kind of funny to me how, just to really quickly touch on the like game as a platform instead of a game anymore, like it's kind of crazy to me how people didn't capitalize on it sooner with the obvious success of something like Warcraft 3, where people used the custom map maker to make their own games. Like they made Dota in that, and they made like a bunch of tower defense games, and they made, like RPGs and stuff within it. And it wasn't until probably Roblox. I mean, Roblox is a pretty old game. Roblox originally came out in like the mid 2000s, I think, but it wasn't like a platform for other games type game until later. But it's funny to see now the like insane success of something like Fortnite doing that and just being like, it's cool how an experience I had when I was a kid is sort of being replicated now, and it's way more mainstream.
Way more mainstream, like really well supported, Lego's a big license. I mean, at this point, Rocket League is, I mean, like they own Rocket League, but it is a big IP. Things like that, like, even like it isn't Rock Band, but a Rock Band clone. Like they're getting licenses for the music. I mean, it's pretty fascinating to see something like this kind of like just, I don't know, like bud into fruition and really stick around and be successful.
Were they working with Harmonix for Fortnite Festival?
I do not know. It's a good question. I wouldn't be surprised at all, but I don't know. To me, like, I mean, I don't know if I feel like I'm beyond the kind of like plastic guitars everywhere and beyond just like not just having them, because obviously it's taking up space, but just I don't feel like I want to do that anymore either. Like I've just kind of done it in my life.
Fortnite Festival is developed by Harmonix, developer behind Rock Band series.
There you go. Like that's pretty cool.
For Rock Band fans looking for new content, Fortnite Festival is the place to be, Harmonix said.
There you go.
But I don't know. You can plug in guitars now too, right? Didn't they add that support?
Last I heard they were going
playing on
to.
The controller is kind of dumb. I don't like it. It don't feel like you're playing guitar.
Well, it's kind of like the same thing as frickin' Rock Band Unplugged on PSP. It's kind of like,
I did enjoy that.
Why? There was a little like guitar like kind of weird like button accessory, not for the PSP, but for the Nintendo DS for Guitar Hero, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Guitar Hero World Tour, I want to say.
All right. That's the stories for the week. Moving on to what we're playing. Tim? What have you been playing?
I've been playing Mario Kart 8.
Was that it? I thought it felt like you were going to say something else.
So, wait, Mario Kart 8 launched on Wii U, is that right?
Mario Kart 8 is Wii U. Mario Kart 8
And it's
Deluxe
still
is the
going.
port to the Switch. So Mario Kart 8 did get some content post-launch, I believe, but very minor stuff. And then Mario Kart 8 Deluxe had all of that as base content, and then they added the additional like Mario Kart game bonus pass or whatever they called it that gave you the extra courses and stuff, which effectively doubled the content of that game, because the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe started with 48 courses and a bunch of what are they called, like Grand Prix, and now it has 96 courses and double the Grand Prix. Like there's a lot of content in that game now.
Are you just doing like single player, like multiplayer? Like what are you doing in it?
I just played it a little bit today on stream with some friends just to kind of have like a little, because it was mentioned offhandedly, like it's been a while since we played Mario Kart, so we did a little multiplayer lobby for some Mario Kart, which was fun for a couple hours today. But other than that, largely still just WoW Classic. Still enjoying the grind. It's not as grindy as I remember it being necessarily, but I also, when I played this game back in the day, like I didn't know how to play an MMO, and I spent a lot more time just like exploring the world than I did actually like playing and leveling. But when you're part of like a really active guild on this like classic hardcore server, it's a completely different game dynamic when you like have a group of people to regularly play with, or people who are like typically anytime you log in, there's always going to be somebody in the guild who's online, and there's like that extra almost constant layer of socialization that's applied to it that is super cool. And I'm like kind of getting to the higher levels now. I just hit level 48, so I can sort of see more of the later game content that I never saw, like when it was relevant, which is super cool.
Are you like now that you know, quote unquote, know how to play, are you looking at the game as more of a chore? Because that happens to me in live service game where I'm like, okay, I know how to min max like the challenges, for example. And then it's like, oh God, and I got to do this forever.
Like yes and no. Like there are definitely the parts that are grindy. But it also helps having a rough outline of kind of like a basic guide to help lead me through like what zone makes sense to be leveling in at what time and that kind of thing. Just like rough outline for like what quests to do and things, because I think that was why I had such a hard time leveling when I played it as a kid, because Classic is very different from the retail version of WoW now, where everything is very streamlined. But Classic is like, you kind of bounce back and forth between some different zones, because if you try to do all of the quests in a zone as they become available to you, you're really quickly going to realize that stuff is like outpacing you level wise. So you kind of have two options at that point. You either stay there and keep grinding until you hit the next level and then start to do the quests to become available for you, or go somewhere else where the quests are your level, and then you can, when you finish those and you level up, then you can go back to the first zone you were in and then go pick up those higher level quests. Or play in a group. Playing in a group is and I think the Classic was sort of balanced around that. I think they probably anticipated that, it's an MMO. People will always be playing with other people, which may have been the case. I can't speak to that because I don't know what the game was like back in 2004 or 2005. But it's much more doable solo or with like one other person you regularly play with if you bounce between zones a little bit. It's just obviously much more time consuming that way.
I feel like the game doesn't tell you that either, eh? Like the thing you're saying, where it's like you do a little bit of this zone. Okay, it wants me to be level 5. I'm level 4. I better go somewhere else. I bet you it doesn't say like, hey, the level 4 quests are over here.
No, definitely not. WoW did have a thing, which I guess was like relatively new back in the day, which was something referred to as like breadcrumb quests, which is like a quest in one zone that says, grab this package and go to this other place 2 zones over and deliver it to this guy. And then you do that, and then he's in a camp where there are 3 other quest givers, and they're all giving quests for your level. So it's like,
okay,
it's sort of like leading you to going to these other locations to sort of like indicate, hey, you're supposed to be here now. But the thing with hindsight, obviously, is playing WoW in 2024 or 2025, playing Classic specifically. I think I said this before, like the game is solved at this point. Like this is a solved game. Like everyone knows Classic at this point. So basically people are just like in it for the nostalgia. There's nothing new to discover unless you're playing on literally the Season of Discovery servers, which is like Classic progression, but there's like new game mechanics in it and stuff, which I was keen to try. And I did play when Season of Discovery first came out. I was playing on those servers a little bit, but there wasn't I don't really know why it didn't grip me. I guess probably because I was playing it solo. I didn't stick with it. But it is definitely like a cool idea to take an old solved game like WoW and throw new content into it, because it's like this weird thing where you're like, I'm playing an old game, like the graphics are old, the gameplay mechanics are old, but I'm seeing new stuff. Like I know that this stuff is brand new because they've just put it out.
I've never seen this forest or never seen this quest before.
Yeah. Well, it's like playing Halo 1 and then Microsoft being like, hey, here's some new campaign levels for Halo 1. And it's like, what? Like the art
What do you
style's
mean?
exactly the same, the gameplay's the same, but it is new content and it's official. So it's kind of funky. But yeah. And then I guess Kayla and I started, I don't know if I mentioned last time, maybe I did, that Kayla and I started playing another Baldur's Gate 3 game.
Oh, nice.
And we have put some mods into it, mostly like just cosmetic stuff for changing characters and things. And that's been kind of fun to go back to. It's a good sort of refresher for when the next content patch drops for Baldur's Gate, which I think they said is going to be their last one. But I think they said the same thing for the previous one as well. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah.
But this one's adding like a new subclass for every class, which is like 12 new subclasses and a bunch of different quality of life stuff too. So, and a photo mode. They're adding a photo mode finally to Baldur's Gate. So there you go, Matt. You can get on that.
Oh, hell yeah.
And yeah, so that's it's funny because the two subclasses that they're adding, or two of the subclasses they're adding in this patch are the two subclasses that my in-person tabletop game of D&D is multi-classed as a Hexblade Warlock and a Shadow Sorcerer. So I'll be able to recreate my tabletop character in Baldur's Gate come this new patch, which is super cool. So I'm gonna do another playthrough on stream when that happens.
Awesome.
Matt,
But aside from WoW, that's it.
Matt, what are you playing?
Me? What am I playing? Well, I sent you guys pictures of it because it's ridiculous. I've
The
been playing.
smartwatch.
Yeah. No, I've been playing a whole bunch of Stalker 2. Hop back on there, and I reached a point in the story where, in hindsight, now that I've thought about it, I think I just did a whole chapter more or less in one sitting. Although it's kind of like the tail ends of the chapter right now. But I did this like one super long, what I called at the time, right after finishing it, one super long quest. It was like 4 hours. It was like it was the middle of the night. I was only going to hop on for a couple hours, and I don't like leaving my character in a bad position, because if I come back, I'm like, fuck, like, where am I? What am I doing? You know, have I looted behind me? I don't remember. So I like to like leave myself in a good position, or at the very least an obvious position where it's like, okay, I've just exited a facility. I've saved, and now I should probably head to town next time I play. And so I went into a facility, and I'm just like being intentionally vague a little bit for spoiler reasons. But I sent you guys a couple screenshots. The place was super lush, super nice, modern, clean, all nice and everything. Took a couple screenshots in there, and then the one guy's like, "Hey man, like we need you to help us in the lab." So I'm like, "All right." So the guy goes, "Oh, the main entrance is blocked. You got to go into the back entrance." So I'm like, "Oh, no worries." So he tells me to go there. So I go searching for this back entrance. And lo and behold, I enter a sewer pipe. Of course I fucking do. Back into the sewers.
The sewers.
Fuck's sake. From the most lush, like beautiful, dare I say, area of the game to fucking into the sewers. But I did not realize this game had a lot of choices so far. The choices felt incidental. I did some shit in this game. I fucking betrayed some people, and this game doesn't give a fuck. Like, it's like, hey, you're going to betray this guy you've been working with for 6 hours. And it's like, okay, pull a gun out and shoot him in the head. And it's like, what? And it's like, pull a gun and shoot him in the head, or I'm going to shoot you in the head. And it's like, oh, okay. Hey man, bang. Like, I guess I'm shooting this guy in the fucking head. Now of course there's always a choice, but I think I'm doing a choice that I would do in real life.
Shooting him in the head?
Well, I did shoot one of my allies directly in the fucking head after taking his technology, but I actually feel a little bit bad. However, I don't know like what's going to happen now, which is super interesting to me. So like before, like the choices were just sort of like, hey, help me, but if you don't, oh well. Like that was kind of the, so sometimes I'd be like, I'm being neutral, I don't know who the fuck these people really are, I'm out of here. This time it's just like, hey man, you've been working with these guys for a while, but like you need to completely fuck them over. And now I kind of feel like I've made an enemy of the entire zone, which should be interesting for the harder areas, which I'm heading into. Maybe I haven't. Maybe I have. I don't know. I know that I made a choice like this adjacent, but in a smaller scale earlier in the game. And I went into a bar and some guy told me off. Some guy told me off immediately and told me that I was like betraying the culture of stalkers. So I've done a big betrayal of the culture of stalkers now. So we'll see we'll see what happens. But one reason why I'm also doing it is because I feel like the side I've chosen can give me the best technology, which is why it's a choice I would have made likely in real life, because the environment sucks and is dangerous as hell, and I need tech to survive. But two is that the character you're playing as, Skiff, he has no skin in the game. He's a guy who's pissed off about something that happened to him, and to me, the choice that I made is the most likely resolution for my character. And so I was like, you know what? I'm making this choice. Like, normally I wouldn't, and I really didn't want to do it, but I was like, I'm doubling down. I'm doing it. Just like how they're going to eventually call the Switch 2 the Switch U. I'm doubling down on my choice in Stalker 2. So I've left the area that I'm in. Oh, actually, one really annoying thing. Did this huge quest, tons of implications. You learn a whole bunch of stuff, bunch of really crazy shit happens. Like it really good. Like the storytelling, I think, is really, really good in this game. And I get to a point where it's like, okay, man, we need to evacuate. So it's all right. So I try to evacuate. The evacuation goes wrong, of course. And he's like, hey, man, there's a back entrance or a back exit. Like, use that. Get the hell out of there. Do not die. That's an order. It's like, okay, go back there, back in the sewer pipe. Go through a sewer pipe that leads me through a bunch of underground facilities. And it's 4:30 in the morning at this point. And I'm like, holy fuck, I got to get the hell out of here. And I'm going through these like crazy, like, obstacle courses. Everything's super dangerous. There's creatures everywhere. There's these puzzles and crap. And it's Stalker. So I'm like, I need all this loot. Like, I'm not going to just run through this for the sake of running through it. Like, I literally need all this loot to survive. And I've used so many supplies in this facility that I really should recuperate my losses. And I was rewarded, which is one of the reasons why I really like this game, with a brand new suit. And I like worked forever to get my suit to where it is. And I just have a suit that's better now. So awesome. So I finished that whole chapter, and now I'm at a part where I'm basically like tying up loose ends, but I'm back in the free open world because this was in a closed facility. I'm back in the free open world, and I just kind of like stopped at that point. I literally faced my character toward the nearest town and then saved, and then I'll just start running or waddling because I'm so over encumbered toward the town next time I play. Man. I can't recommend Stalker 2 enough. The story is so good. Like the beginning, I was like, man, like, I don't know, this story kind of sucks. Like, I don't know if I like this. And then it starts adding more factions and adding more people and more opinions. And there's people who, you know, love the zone just for the freedom. Some people love the zone because it's, you know, money maker. Other people love it because they have control over things. Some people are nice. Some people are evil. People have agendas. The government's involved. And it's just like, holy fuck. And it's just, I'm going deeper and deeper and deeper into this world now. And I actually I'm formulating opinions and I'm making differences. I'm killing bosses and like taking towns down and stuff like that. And it's like, Jesus, like this is like, I'm probably 30 hours in at this point. And it's like, I'm not even close to Pripyat, for example. Like I think I'm going to slowly head toward that area, but honestly, I don't know right now. So I haven't even been to the main city for the Stalkers, put it that way. But yeah, so it's mostly been Stalker 2. We did a little bit of Atlas Fallen on the stream. That game's okay. We're starting to hit some weird problems, right? Like some weird, like there was like that weird quest where it's like, hey, like find all 10 apples. And then we like saw like a sketchy dude literally called like Sketchy Van or something. And when you talk to him, it like locks you out of the 10th apple. It's like, what?
Well, no, a decision I made when going back to the fruit vendor.
Oh, okay. It was you.
I had options, but I just thought they were like, I didn't know the full context of the story. I wasn't really paying attention that closely. And so I just selected like the first one, you know, trying to finish that quest I was on. And I turned in the Sketchy Man without realizing that I shouldn't have.
Right. Okay.
And so that's what locks you out of that 10th apple.
It would have been nice for it to tell us that, though, like quest incompletable and then go away. We were running around looking for that 10th apple for like 5 minutes.
I think it's broken that it won't go away.
That's a pain in the ass then.
Yeah.
And I hate the animal mechanic. Dumb mechanic. I'm not going to talk about it now because I've already ranted about it on stream, but that is a dumb mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
I did want to mention one thing interesting that I found last week, actually. There was a Stalker mobile game, and I mean like a mobile game in the infancy of mobile games. And I just went like randomly looking on the Reddit for some other unrelated stuff, trying to figure out what suit armor I should use. And somebody just got that mobile game ported to PC. Somebody spent the time and just recently was like, hey guys, like this is now available, and is working on tooling that looks like, to me, I only looked at it for in a glance, but it looked like from the patch notes that I did read, which I did not read in full, is like some sort of level editor. I'm like, this person took like whatever it was, like a Java phone game, and was just like, yeah, okay, I'll port this. And then it's like, yeah, you know what, I'll add some features. Like, what? What the fuck's happening here? So, I mean, props to that person. I unfortunately don't remember their name, and I haven't downloaded the game myself. But man, there's some projects out there in the world. It's awesome. What have you been doing, Ryan?
Just more Indiana Jones, just kind of plucking away at that. Matt, we've kind of talked about this, how like we're done like spending a lot of time looking for certain things, and like we don't hesitate now just to look up the answer. I've been doing that quite a bit in Indiana Jones, where it's just like, oh, there's a safe here. Oh, I can spend 10 minutes of my life looking for the safe code, or I can just look up what the safe code is. You know, it's all this stuff that's like meant to waste your time is kind of getting on my nerves as an old gamer.
I mean, I guess it depends on what like you prioritize with certain games, right? Like if it's a puzzle game, obviously the fun of it is in the puzzle.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're not just going to play a puzzle game and look up every solution. I mean, unless specifically that's how you want to play that puzzle game. But I think for the most part, most people want to play a puzzle game. Yeah, like, you know, for some people it's fun, for some people it's not. But yeah, that's what you want to do, right? So
other than that, just the usual not Fortnite. Although we did do that one game mode, their FPS mode, which is all right. It felt a little slow, felt a little underbaked or undercooked.
Yeah, it's called Ballistic.
And then I've been doing some Overwatch because I bought the Battle Pass. I need to finish that. We've been doing Suicide Squad, which has been actually not terrible. The game has some issues, obviously. We've all like crashed multiple times. And
oh yeah.
The very last update has been released, so there's no more fixes. So those crashes are baked in now. That's the game.
No.
Those crashes are the game.
No.
Yeah.
I haven't crashed since the update, so.
But we've been kind of having fun. The only problem is we're all playing at different times, and so we're constantly going to other people's campaigns and catching them up. But we're like, it's like this staggered thing where we're just constantly, you know, going back and forth between playing the same missions over and over again.
It's kind of like WoW Classic. Like if one of us dies, we'll like re-roll characters to like help them level up again. So we're all doing the starter zones like time and time and time. Anytime any one of us dies. Yeah.
But otherwise, I'm actually having fun. I mean, we're mostly just hanging out and playing a game together, so that might be part of it. But it's not really been as bad as other than the crashes and stuff. And I pre-ordered Civilization 7.
Oh God! Oh dear Lord!
So that's coming out February something. But you get 5 days early access with pre-order. So that's been great. Excited? Can't wait.
I hope the pre-order works out for you, because I'd be scared of the pre-order.
And then that's about it. So last segment here. Anyone guess what the last segment will be tonight?
Is it a freaking fun fact, but not my fun fact, like the old school fun fact?
No. What porno game is trending on Steam?
On Steam, let's go!
Damn it,
man! I've been missing out. I got to know what's hot these days.
Well, this one's really hot here.
Woo!
How to Lose One's Virginity. That is the title of the game.
I think that's all you have to do.
It's not capitalized. So the first, like, how is capitalized, but the rest of the title does not have the first letter capitalized. Here's the description. How to Lose One's Virginity is an adult visual novel that describes the process of self-discovery and hot beauties.
Oh.
Playing the role of a loser, are you able to change your life and become someone women are very fond of and build your own harem?
Harem, yeah. What if I am a woman and I want to play this game, but I'm not attracted to women?
Don't do that.
Oh, okay.
What's a harem?
It is a dynamic of one man and many women.
Oh, okay. I thought it was going to be like a different word for like a house or something like that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
That's not the case.
Imagine a student who spends all his free time on the computer, and if he's not playing games, he's watching porn and masturbating. No girlfriend, no job, studies abandoned, and a looming expulsion from college.
Studies
character
abandoned.
You have to play. You live
I
in
don't
the
want to play
same
a
house
loser
with 3 sexy beauties.
Whoa!
Do you think you can make this, or do you think this makes your life pleasurable? Quite the opposite. One of them despises you, the second is constantly trolling you, and the third treats you like a child. Everything changes after an unfortunate incident and a sudden large financial debt.
Oh.
You decide to change yourself and your life. But is it that simple? How much will you need to change yourself to become what you've never been?
Not a virgin. It sounds honestly like it has one of the more like involved narratives for porno games that I've heard of.
No.
But-
No.
No,
Now if you see
you've
all the
heard- you've
screenshots
heard
I'm
better
looking
ones?
at right now.
oh no.
Why did it go to silence too? Like, I mean, I know the silence will be cut in editing. There's just a bit of silence. You're just like looking at the at the screenshots.
If you're wondering if your system will be able to handle this and whether you need a
I
new
am,
RTX
yeah.
5090,
Oh god, please.
rest assured you need a Windows 10 or higher, obviously, a processor of 2 gigahertz, Core 2 Duo,
Oh my Christ!
2 megabytes of RAM, not gigabytes, megabytes of RAM.
That's got to be incorrect. I'll tell you right now.
I
that's
don't know,
gotta
they're
be
just
incorrect.
images.
I guess that's fair.
Visual novel.
And the graphics, it doesn't even say a graphics card. It just says OpenGL 2.0 or DirectX 9 compatible.
Like
So
integrated graphics or whatever.
Any, graphics card within the last 20 years, I guess. And 8 gigabytes of storage to store all those 4K files and
Jesus.
And GIFs.
That's
Because
the most
all
like
I can
modern
see.
thing.
These are GIFs. They just repeat over and over.
Oh, okay. Bunch
Big-
of bouncing going on over there.
And the physics is off the charts. They just crank whatever game engine they're using. They crank the physics.
Is it a game engine or is it just like frame by frame animation?
No, it's not, because if you watch the trailer,
Oh,
they have like
doing
they have
Yeah, but I don't
the
want to do that.
they have the 3 beauties
Okay.
walking, and you can see the real time physics working.
what a way to word that. Well done.
They even have like the guy at the end. He like points at the camera, but his hair is flying off for no apparent reason.
His hair flies off. Oh god.
Not the hair doesn't fly off. Like strands of hair are just like in the wind,
right.
but for no reason. It's just the physics are like interfering or whatever.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Go check it out. It came out just recently. 17th. Is that today? Came out today. It's
my
already on
God.
sale. 15%
Fresh.
off. Get it now. It's on
Woo, it's hot.
Windows, Mac, and Linux, Steam OS. There you go.
Get it, gamers.
Steam Deck verified.
Is it actually?
No, but I'm sure it could play it if you need a Core 2 Duo.
Oh yeah.
A freaking Apple Watch could play it. All right, that's it. Tim, where are you streaming How to Lose One's Virginity?
Actually, I think it's called How to Retain One's Virginity by playing World of Warcraft at twitch.tv/the sidetrack.
You can watch Tim get banned.
Watch me get banned for playing porno games. Good times, good times.
And then we'll be playing something. Depends if Tim's joining us, I guess. Twitch.tv/DamonPatchMedia, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. Potentially Atlas Fallen, potentially Halo Wars.
We'll solve the mystery of the shitty Apple quest.
Yeah.
Sounds gross.
All right. We'll see you guys on Steam playing porno games.
Oh.
Matt,
What?
take us out.
Not on that note, but peace.